reality according to fact, story, or faith. And I come across on a regular basis many questions that relate to the area of believing in God, right? And of course, many don't want to believe. And I always say, every atheist becomes a believer in God the minute there's a little bit of turbulence in their airplane. Everyone suddenly, decides this isn't cool. Am I ready to meet my maker? In turbulence in the sky. Everybody has that fear. Many times I have experienced that. In fact, I had a couple of people I know. Once we were on a tour in a movie, and we were filming all over Africa. We went from Hans Marinsky, Cape Town, all the way to Wild Coast Sun, Natal, through to Pilanesberg, through to Johannesburg, through to there was just lots of different places we went to go and film this project. And we were at one stage we were traveling in from Swakopmund in Southwest Africa, and we were flying an old plane, like a very old plane. And I'll never forget, our lead camera operator in those days was a full-on atheist. Full-on. I'll never forget it, because he had just been on a project with us that we were filming a God movie. In fact, it was a film called Armageddon. It was based on the final book of Revelation, and it was just an understanding of what would happen in the end days. Little did I know that my end days movie was going to become a reality even in my lifetime. I had this feeling, this was in the 80s, that this is what would happen in the end of days, and I was right. In fact, lots of things happen in this movie that kind of prove prophetic insight. Of course, at that time, I was literally deriving it from what I'd read biblically, but at the same time, I had this feeling that that's potentially what would happen. It would be economically based, financially based, etc. And that ultimately they would have to inconvenience people a lot to get them to accept the mark. And that mark was only going to come as a result of a vaccine. And I think I had read Texas Mars, so I'm not going to claim complete credit for that, but I remember reading the Texas Mars book, and that really inspired me to really make a film about it. And this guy had been very involved in assisting us with making this movie. We'd won a lot of awards, Visible Spectrum Awards. We'd won all kinds of laurels and badges and certificates and all sorts of things. And it was all really based on, the fact that, and I was astounded, because as we were making this film, he was a bit resistant. He was very resistant, and his resistance came from the fact that the book was based on a biblical viewpoint. He didn't like that. Now, I wasn't particularly religious or anything. At all, to this day, I'm not particularly religious either, but I do have this incredibly powerful belief in God, and I now know that it's the truth. I now know that everything that is written biblically is the truth. And that doesn't mean that I have to be biblical, I have to be religious, right? I have to be biblical, but I don't have to be religious. So my understanding of the whole thing came from this perspective of, let's look at the facts, and then let's look at the story. Now, I went to law school, and what I learned from law school was shocking. And over the years, as you all probably know, I've been doing many courses about many legal courses. I'm currently doing admiralty law, which is maritime law. And I have, over time discovered all kinds of things that I reckon are very, very important when it comes to understanding and knowing the world, understanding life, right? I get the idea that we are embroiled in what seems to be a full-on war between light and darkness. And you start to realize, you start to understand sorry about that. You start to understand that what you are in essence dealing with here on a cosmic scale is a war between the beings from heaven and, of course, these demonic fallen angels, right? So we start to realize that there's a true story of something going on there that is kind of critical. But what I was intrigued by as I've been looking into this for a while now is that when you're studying law, one of the first things that you're always told is you're told that the facts are paramount. The facts are supposed to be paramount. It's always about facts, right? It's always about facts. But yet, it's the one who conveys the best story that supersedes the facts. I soon discovered that people weren't really interested in the facts. Sure, they'll listen to the facts. The facts make sense. But then there's a version of reality that is told. And the best orator wins. The best orator wins, normally, the case for whatever is happening. The case for that situation or the case for this situation. It's always very, very much about the story. And what I discovered soon from studying law is that people are not as interested in the facts as we would think they are. In fact, science is not interested in the facts either. You always get this belief, this idea that science is facts-based. It's very, very about an experiment that could potentially be repeatable again and again, accurately, the same way, and tells the same story. And what we discover is that nothing in science is exclusive of the story that is being told. And throughout the academic world, we see how what predominates in thinking is this atheistic, materialistic belief system. This atheistic, materialistic belief system. It's almost like science sets itself apart from the requirement of a God, which I think is extremely sad. It's almost like saying, we're alive, we've got health, we're taken care of every single day by our, with all our needs are being taken care of. Everything's being taken care of. We're fed, we find, we're replenished by nature, all of those things. Everything is given to us. And then we dare to stand in accusation against God or in the denial of God. We just go, no, he doesn't exist, right? We go to great universities in our beautiful suits, provided for by the finances and the provision that come into our lives. And then we can stand up and still say, there is no God, there's no creator, there's nothing. We're stealing from our creator. We're stealing from God. We're showing a disrespect and a lack of thankfulness, a lack of gratitude. And God allows it. He allows all things because he's allowing this play out of this grand experiment that needs to take place first before he can come on the scene and show us how things are done, how life should be lived, how the world should actually be governed. So it's not about facts. Science is continually finding the facts to be that God exists, and yet it doesn't accept it. It doesn't agree to it. It doesn't administer that truth into the rest of the world. It just leaves it, and doesn't allow that to be propagated. I really think that it's time, in the world, that people started giving credit to where credit is due, right? There are facts, and those facts need to be looked at contextually against the true facts, not just the convenient facts, but the true facts. A lot about what people are doing in the world is they're saying, yeah, there's so many, truths, and it's all relative, and it's not. There's only a truth, one truth. Everything else may approximate, may have some level of hidden meaning that relates to some form of a truth, but there's only one truth. Everything else is not the truth. There's only one way. Nothing else is that one way. People want spiritism, they want spirituality, but they don't want the inconvenience of accountability. And that is ultimately very, very disturbing. More on this in another audio recording, another video perhaps, but it just goes to prove that facts are not really what people are contending for. Whenever you hear people go, I just want the facts. They don't want the facts. They want the facts that is convenient to them for their argument, right? They don't want the truth. You can't handle the truth, is really what I'm saying. I'll give you the truth, but you don't want the truth.